Hi all, in this video I'll be going through the structure of the GCSE dance written paper, and I'll also be talking about timings and some key techniques that you can use to help you succeed in the written paper. So component 1 of the GCSE is all of the practical work, and component 2 is this theory paper which is called Dance Appreciation. Okay, it's 1 hour and 30 minutes and it is marked out of 80, and you have 3 sections. I'm going to go through each section in a little bit more detail later on in the video, but just to give you a little bit of context, you've got section A, which is all about choreographic processes and performance skills, and those are short answer questions. Section B, which is called a critical appreciation of own work. So the questions will relate to your own experiences of performance, choreography, or both from within the course. So you'll be asked questions about your actual practice. And section C is a critical appreciation of professional works. So you'll look at 6 professional works throughout the course and you'll be asked about these. And you will need to be able to analyse, evaluate, identify similarities and differences, and explain and justify your own opinions and reasoning. Okay, so my first tip is all about timing. A lot of previous students have found this tip really helpful because there is a lot to do within this paper in the time that you have. So within the paper, it will give you these timings. The examiners advise you to spend 30 minutes on section A, 25 minutes on section B, and 35 minutes on section C. So my advice is when you're about to start the paper and that time gets written up on the board by the invigilator, for example, if you're starting at 1 o'clock, I would make a note on the front of the paper that by 1:30 you need to have finished section A, and by 1:55 you will need to have finished and moved on from section B. So that is my first top tip, and you could actually go into even more detail there when you get better and better at practicing the paper. So section B, for example, you could break into timings for that, so spending 6 to 8 minutes on each question, but I'm going to go into a little bit more detail later on with this. Let's break down each section then. So section A is out of 30, and you must know all about choreographic processes. So this is going to be hypothetical choreography. So it's a made up piece of choreography, and there is a whole playlist on the YouTube channel about this to give you more detail, where you'll be given a stimulus and you need to come up with a choreographic intention, and you'll be asked questions after that. So you must know all key choreographic terminology. So action, dynamic, spatial and relationship content. You need to know choreographic processes, structuring devices, choreographic devices. You need to know oral settings and how these affect choreographic outcomes. So for example, how they affect the mood and the atmosphere. You need to understand what different performance environments are, and you need to understand what communication of choreographic intent is. Okay, so that's all of the choreographic terminology that you need to know and then research into further. And for performance skills, you must know all the different performance skills categories and all the different vocabulary that comes with this. So you need to know physical, technical, expressive and mental skills. You need to know safe working practices, the processes, and during performance. Okay, so please make sure that you do extra work around these and you go to the relevant places on the YouTube channel to find more about these areas if you need more help. Key helpful tips for section A. So firstly, Read ahead on hypothetical choreography. This is mentioned in the hypothetical choreography videos that are on YouTube for more detail about that. Check how many marks a question is worth. So it's a mark a minute for this section, but it's really, really important that you double check how many marks each question is worth, because if, for example, the question is a describe question and it's worth 2 marks, very often you'll just get 1 mark for a simple description and 2 marks for something slightly more detailed. So you must double check. Check the command word and read the question really, really carefully. So key command words within section A include give, describe, define, outline. Okay, if the question is asking you to give or name, you just need to say, whereas for describe or define, you obviously need to give more detail and do those command words. Get lots of practice so that you can complete this section quicker than 30 minutes to give you more time for the other sections. So this is really key for people that really want to succeed on this paper. You should practice this lots and lots so that you can really smash out a section A quickly to allow you more time to answer the extended writing questions. Okay. Key places for extra revision will be your glossary for key definitions, the YouTube channel, the Section A frog site, and your revision guide. And within those places, you will be able to find a breakdown of those key choreographic and performance skills so that you can do a little bit more work where you need it. Section B is out of 18 marks, and within section B you will be asked 3 6-mark questions. Okay, it will ask you about either your performance skills or your choreography skills. Now, if it's asking you about your performance skills, it will be in relation to your set phrases or your performance piece. Or if it's about the choreography skills, it will be about your solo or your group choreography. So you just need to check that carefully. They can only ask you about those areas. For section B, you want to be using the KEC structure that you hear us talk about a lot. So that is knowledge, evidence, and contribution. And for top marks, you're aiming for 5 to 6 good, really good KECs throughout your answer. Okay, so here's some examples of 2 questions that you might be asked. First of all, a performance skills question, sorry. So explain how you use technical skills to contribute to the overall effectiveness of one of your set phrases. So that is a performance question that they could ask you. And here's a choreography question. Explain how your choice of oral setting supported the choreographic intent of your choreography. Okay, top tips for section B. So have some really good evidence examples ready to go. And actually, when you're doing practical lessons, it's good to be a real thinking dancer. So if you're working on an alignment exercise, for example, think about how you might explain that and describe that example. Think about what alignment contributes to an overall performance, why it's important for a dancer to have. Okay, and think carefully about linking correct and relevant contributions to different skills. So it's about really integrating that practical and theory within your practice all the time. Okay. When you've actually got the paper there in front of you though, you want to first of all highlight the keywords in the question. And I always call it word dump or mind map around the question with key terminology so that you straight away think, right, I know what I'm being asked to do and I've got some skills that I can draw on. Okay. It sounds like a silly thing to say, but make sure you're talking about the correct dance. That's really, really important. If the question is asking you about the set phrases and you misread it and start talking about your choreography, or what sometimes happens is people are asked about the performance piece and they accidentally talk about their choreography, that can then be a real issue for you and you wouldn't get any marks. Okay, so just be really, really conscious of that. It's really important to state your choreographic intention at the start of section B questions so that the examiner knows what the dance was all about, and so that you can link the relevant contributions to the choreographic intention. Okay, so even for the set phrases at the start of your answer, you would need to say, I am going to talk about shift, for example, because that is the choreographic intention. And spend 6 to 8 minutes per question on section B. So I know I spoke about top tips for timing, but if you want to go even more in depth with practicing this paper and really getting your timings on point, I would write down the key timings at the top of section B. So when you start section B, you have a quick look at the clock and you think, right, in 6 minutes time, I need to have moved on from this first question, and so on. Okay, so those are top tips for section B. Section C is out of 32, and this is probably the most challenging part of the paper. Well, in fact, it is the most challenging part of the paper because it's requiring you to analyse, evaluate, bring together similarities and differences, and give your own opinion and justify that. It also requires you to obviously critically appreciate other dance works, so you need to make sure that you're watching those works regularly and that you really sort of get your teeth stuck into them. Okay, so I'm going to go through the structure of section C now. You'll have a 1 marker linked to a 6 marker where you will use the KEC structure. So for every time you have 6 markers on the paper, you use KEC. And this could ask you about choreographic content or production features in a professional work. Okay, so I'll show you some examples here. So identify one action used in a linear curve, that is your 1 mark. And then the 6 marker is explain how the choreographic content helps the audience's understanding of the idea of having fun in a linear curve, 6 marks. So you can see how this 6 marker has opened up the 1 marker and you're being asked to speak about choreographic content in that work. Okay. Next, the next part of the paper will be a 1 marker linked to a 12 marker. Okay, and this will be 1 set work and 2 production features. And for this question, we encourage you to use dice ingredients. Okay, so if you want to know a little bit more about that, or if you need to refresh your knowledge on that, please go away and watch the 12-mark video, which goes into more depth of just this type of question. So name the performance environment used in Within Her Eyes is our 1 marker, and then our 12 marker opens out and filters on from that 1 marker, which is discuss how the performance environment and dance for camera contribute to the choreographic intent of Within Her Eyes. So the production feature is the performance environment and dance for camera, and we're looking at the choreographic intention of the set work Within Her Eyes. Okay, the next part of the paper, so the final part, which is probably the most challenging question on the whole paper, is 12 marker compare and contrast question, which is based on 2 set works and 1 production feature. So you're needing to compare and contrast similarities and differences. Okay, again, there is a video on just how to tackle this, where you will learn more about what solid face is as an acronym. Okay, it's a tool to unlock different contribution points that you could talk about in this question. And we use the CSI effect as our writing ingredients. Okay, so again, if you don't know what I'm talking about, please make sure that you watch the video dedicated to tackling this question. So here's an example. Using your knowledge of the similarities and differences in the oral settings used in infra and shadows, discuss how the oral settings enhance our appreciation of these 2 works. Okay, so you can see how we've got our production feature, which is oral setting, and we need to compare how both works use those oral settings and what they contribute to those works. Okay. Helpful tips for section C. So as I said before, it's so important that you watch the works and choreographer interviews regularly. If you're doing that, then whatever question you're faced with, you will be able to almost close your eyes and see the work in your head and draw relevant examples. Okay, it's also nice to actually build up a real passion for the set works and actually enjoy watching them, have favourites, have opinions, and bring those to your discussion. Okay, highlight the keywords in the question for these extended writing questions. Really important that we make sure that we understand what the question is asking of us. And again, word dump around the question with key bits of terminology to help you build your answer. As I said with section B, but this time you're needing to talk about the correct dance in terms of the professional works. Everyone in the heat of a moment in an exam can be a bit nervous, and you need to make sure that you're actually talking about the correct set work, otherwise you would get the whole question wrong. It's a mark a minute for the 1 markers, but obviously they're really they should be quite easy, so hopefully they won't take a minute, and you can use some of those seconds somewhere else in your extended writing. For all 6 mark questions, spend about 6 to 8 minutes, as I said in section B, and for your 12 markers, spend 12 to 15 minutes per question. Hopefully you've made some time up, so hopefully you can work through section A a bit quicker, so that you give yourself as much time as possible on these more challenging, longer questions. And as I said before, time yourself, so write down key timings at the top of that section so that you know when you've got to move on by. Okay, what we really advise is quality over quantity. We want you to think of section C as it being building blocks and you bring into the discussion what you know. So please don't freak out when you see the question. The reason why also we're calling them writing ingredients rather than structures is so that you can just start to build your answer up, bring in what you know, and being able to shape your writing in the way that's going to best suit you and the question. Okay, and as I've said before, the best places you can go to are our YouTube channel. There's breakdowns of all different videos of set works, and also of actually answering the extended writing questions. The section C Frog site has those videos on, and it's also the place where you can find all of the set work videos. Make sure you use your booklets. You should have a booklet for each set work that you study, where you can make lots of notes and keep revising from there. Use your revision guide, and also using past papers is going to be really helpful. I hope this video has helped in you understanding the written paper a little bit more. Please do ask any questions if you have any, and please continue to revise and practice lots of questions and make sure that you keep watching the set works.